Hello, this is Janet Michael. In addition to hosting The Valley Today each weekday at noon on the River 95.3, I also produce podcasts, and I'm excited to introduce you to a new podcast series in partnership with Lord Fairfax Community College. Having provided higher education and career training for the past half-century, LFCC is tightly interwoven into the fabric of the Northern Shenandoah Valley and Piedmont regions. Join me every week for conversations with current and former students to hear their funny and inspiring stories as we learn about their journey to higher education, the role that LFCC has played, where they are now, and where they plan to go. We'll also talk to current and former professors about their experiences and best memories of LFCC over the past 50 years. Get every single episode as they're released on our website at theriver953.com under the podcast tab, or you can subscribe for free in Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, on Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search for LFCC Stories. Hello, and welcome to The Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael. Happy Monday as you are listening to the show today. We, however, have pre-recorded our conversation on a Wednesday morning, and we're really throwing a wrench into those of you who track your days by the show. And please tell me that you're not one of those people, because I can't track my days by the show. Typically, we are talking to someone from the Extension office on the third Friday of the month, but I had a little bit of schedule wonkiness going on the last couple of weeks, and thankfully my guest today, who is a newbie to the show, was able to rearrange his schedule as well so we could bring you the show today on a Monday. I am staring at Corey Childs on the Zoom screen. He is an extension agent with the Virginia Cooperative Extension. He is based out of Warren County, but serves as all of our extension agents do, all 5 counties. And Corey, I am really excited. I told you in our pre-show conversation to have you on the air because both Mark Sutphin and Karen Poff have told me multiple times that what you do at the Extension office is really cool and that I should have you on the show. So I'm glad it took me a whole year, but I finally got you here to be able to talk about what you do at the Extension office.
Sorry for the delay. I'm very happy to be here, and I look forward to it. I have since you first contacted me about it, and I hope we have something good to talk about.
Well, I know that your title of sorts is Animal Science Specialist. So explain to me what it is you do at the Extension office.
Well, basically, I deal with farmers and also landowners and people that walk in every day. So if you have a lawn and garden question or a garden, vegetable garden, fruit garden, whatever it happens to be in the backyard, you can come by and I may or may not be there at that time, but I'll respond to that question as I can. And if I don't know what it is, then I pass it on to one of my colleagues that specializes in that area, and then we'll continue to answer the questions that way. But what I spend most of my time on is going around and dealing with agricultural producers in the area and doing diagnostic work and educational programs. And a lot of that's farm visits. A lot of that might be going to the local farmers market if necessary. It's looking at the problems with wheat, corn, cattle, whatever it happens to be.
And we were talking before we started recording. Most of my listeners know I have a great relationship with Eddie Richard at Richard's Fruit Market. Those are the types of farmers that you're dealing with. If he has questions, if he has issues, or if something comes to your attention that may be happening on a national or a state level, you reach out to those local farmers and say, hey, you need to be aware of XYZ, and here's some options for you if this impacts your crops or your livestock.
That's right. It's split about maybe 60-40. 40% of the time I'm trying to be proactive, heading them off, letting them know about issues that might be occurring there or that we found in other places around that might affect them. The other part of the time is, take Eddie, for example. I've got a good relationship with Eddie, known him for years. And he might call and say, hey, I'm having trouble with this, or having a problem here. Can you help me with that? And we'll get back in contact and try to answer the request for help, whatever it may be, as quickly as we can, and try to resolve the situation. And that happens all around the area. We've got hopefully, or at least what I feel are great relationships with a lot of our farmers. And it's not uncommon at all to get calls or questions 7 days a week, anytime during the day. It depends on when they're doing business. We try to be available whenever they are.
Well, Eddie has reminded me on more than one occasion that farming is a 24/7, 365 business. It doesn't close down nights and weekends.
That's so true. And some enterprises are more stringent than others on that regard, but all of them have the same thing, and that is you're always on call.
I also understand that because you've been with the extension office for, I think, 30 years, you sometimes can also advise for people outside. I mentioned you serve our 5 surrounding counties in addition to being based in Warren, but you sometimes have to go outside of that area to help a farmer or somebody that has a question or an issue.
That is true. Hopefully we have been able to gain some knowledge over the years, and we do get called upon from, well, all over the state and sometimes out of state to provide, insights or to talk about issues. And we try to help those folks as well. So one thing it also does is it doesn't limit where we get our information, because we're seeing things happen someplace else that may happen here, or that may affect our producers, and we're able to head them off and let them know in advance that those things are happening as well. So we're as active as we can be.
Well, and I think it's always important to remind people that the local extension offices are not local in the sense that they are in that little bit of a silo, pun intended, but it's
Yes.
all under the umbrella of Virginia Tech, which is a much larger organization that is looking at all of the issues and problems and good things that are happening across the state of Virginia.
Yeah, we're part of Virginia Tech. And we like to think we're a major arm of theirs, public outreach and so forth. Part of the USDA system, federal cooperative extension system, and international. So part of our responsibilities are bringing issues that are identified anywhere to to our folks here locally, and trying to impart how they might impact them. So we're I guess, engaged worldwide. But we try to bring it home locally and really focus on those issues that are important to the folks we work with.
Well, and to kind of bring it back local for a second, I understand that you are also, in some respects, our local backyard chicken guy. Backyard chickens have really become a thing, and I will tell you before we start talking about that, I don't want backyard chickens, but I really want a cute backyard chicken coop, because some of those are the coolest looking things I have ever seen. I'm not worried about the birds, but it would be really cool to have a nice looking chicken coop in my backyard.
Yeah, I agree with you. I understand. There are lots of different kinds. There are lots of different aesthetic motifs that are out there. Everybody's kind of got their own thing they like. And most of them are really cool and kind of make nice lawn pieces by themselves. So, you can have the barn without having the chickens. I've learned that over the last couple of years as well. The people really like that view. But yes, backyard chickens is an issue that's been around forever, but it has really kind of come to the forefront the last couple of years, and especially in the last year with the coronavirus and the lockdowns and food insecurity, rearing its ugly head. There's been a lot of people here locally that have decided they were interested in it, want to find out more information, or we're going to do it. And I am part of that process. We try to make sure that the plans that people have, one, they've thought about all the way through. Chickens just, are neat birds and things from some people, but they may not understand all the ins and outs about caring for them and disposing with waste and all that kind of thing. So we try very hard to be that part of the process, to get a permit, to educate and to help people decide if it's for them or not.
And you've got to be a really good resource too, I would imagine, for the local governments when they're discussing an ordinance to allow them or not allow them, because they can look at it from, the planning side in residential neighborhoods and things along those lines. But you really do play an important role because you are providing that education for someone and say, look, this is going to impact your neighbors and this is what it's going to sound like and this is what it's going to smell like and everything else.
Yeah, that's really where we kind of come into play. We do and have had discussions with most of the counties, even stretching past our immediate surrounding area. We've been called upon in a few places around the state to talk about it and talk about our experiences with it and how it might work. But yeah, it starts with planning and zoning everywhere. And the discussion usually arises because somebody comes in and wants to have, chickens in an urban area and, some place that has been at one time or another told we're not going to have chickens because they're a farm animal. And, they're trying to get things changed. And then the discussions start and the counties really kind of look for at least one part of the process to be educational, to be on that producer side or the expected producer side, and to try to help them understand that it's not only about their interest in having birds. They've got to think about their neighbors and all the different ways that they might impact the environment and their own personal health and biosecurity, and then what they're going to do with those eggs or the meat that they produce. There's a lot of different factors that go into play, but we want to make sure that both the counties themselves legislatively and the potential producers know what they're getting into.
And all of the counties, I think Frederick County, I recently read, has denied having a backyard chicken ordinance, at least in the present time. But all of our other surrounding counties have gone through that process and do have ordinances in place, don't they?
Yeah, pretty much all of them do. Let's say Warren County and Front Royal have two separate ordinances. So it's not the exact same if you live in the town versus living in the county, but they're very, very similar. Shenandoah's gone through the process, Page, Clark, they've all done that. Frederick is in the process of discussing it. The current format of uh, the program has been denied. And I'm assuming that at some point it'll be brought back up with some changes to hopefully meet everybody's need. But yeah, all the counties looked at it and said, hey, this is a important thing. It's important to our residents. We want to make sure that everybody's got their say in the matter and that hopefully we come to some common ground. And that's kind of where they've all derived is we want to allow it and give everybody their freedoms, but we want to make sure that, everybody is being taken care of.
My guess would be that a lot of these ordinances grew out of not so much somebody coming into the town or county office saying, hey, I'm interested in having chickens, but probably from a neighbor who said, hey, I want to complain about my neighbor who has chickens. And that's probably what started more of the process than anything else.
Well, that's true. And actually, I was on a Facebook. I'm not saying go out to the internet and find anything you want, but I was on a Facebook page just recently where a woman in another area, she's not in our jurisdiction or around us or anything like that. I'm not even sure she's in Virginia, so to speak, but she has chickens in her urban setting and she's been letting them free range, which is letting them run anywhere. And they've been going over to different neighbors and laying eggs and scratching up things and, leaving traces of their being there. And they're unhappy about it. And, it's created some dissension because there wasn't a good plan. It wasn't thought out about how we're going to do things and thinking about what in her world, she sees everything or appears to see everything as being, this is great. It's the environmental natural system. And they should appreciate all these different things that are happening. And the neighbors going, well, not my world. This isn't a great thing. Nobody likes walking out the house and stepping in a mess or having their horticultural items being torn apart or whatever it might be. So these things really have taken hold across the country, and there are real concerns. but it's unique to listen to the places and arguments that happen. And I don't for a minute doubt that many locations it's come from somebody going, hey, we got to have a rule against this, right? And trying to deal with it.
Well, let's take a quick break. I have a couple more chicken questions. So let's take a quick break. When we come back, can I ask you a few more chicken questions and in the second segment?
Sure.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Corey Childs. He is an extension agent with the Virginia Cooperative Extension Office. He is based in Warren County, however, serves all 5 of our surrounding counties. He is an animal science specialist, and we have been chatting about backyard chickens, and I have a couple more questions. So we're going to talk about those when we come back in just a couple of minutes.
Got a financial decision to make or a goal to reach, but you don't know where to start? You've come to the right place. Introducing Quick Money Chats with the Northern Shenandoah Valley Financial Education Program. Visit tinyurl.com/Quick Money Chat to schedule a virtual chat with a staff member or trained volunteer. We won't tell you what to do, but we will give you the tools you need to choose wisely. And because Virginia Cooperative Extension is part of Virginia Tech and Virginia State, your land-grant universities, you can be sure that our information is credible and trustworthy. And you'll know that we aren't trying to sell you something. Maybe you want to improve your credit score, or reduce your banking overdraft fees, or even figure out if you can afford to buy that car. Sorting through tons of information on the internet can be overwhelming, and sometimes it can be hard to know who to trust. Schedule a Quick Money Chat and get the information you need to take action. Go to tinyurl.com/Quick Money Chat and get financial education personalized for you.
Welcome back to the Valley today. I am your host, Janet Michael. Happy Monday as you are listening to the show today. We, however, have pre-recorded our conversation on the Zoom screen. We are chatting today with Corey Childs. He is an extension agent with the Virginia Cooperative Extension. He's based in Warren County, but serves all 5 of our surrounding counties. And we've been having a conversation, Corey, about backyard chickens. And you mentioned in the first segment, backyard chickens has been a thing for many, many, many years. And I think the pandemic has made them a bigger thing because of the issues that you mentioned in the first segment: food insecurity, quarantine, people not even being able to get access to food, even if they can afford it. But I joke that I want a backyard chicken coop, but not backyard chickens. Chickens are a lot of work. I mean, what would you say to somebody if they came into the extension office today and said, hey, I'm thinking about getting some backyard chickens. Where can I go buy them? What would you say to kind of pre-educate them before they make that purchase?
Yeah, that happens periodically. And one of the things that people do is they come in going, I was down at X store and I saw them for sale, or I went over to my friend's house and they have them. And I just thought they were so cute and I would like to have them, but they've never really thought about all the things that go into it. And that my first question would be, are you sure? And the second thing is, why do you want to do this? What do you want to get out of this? If you think you're going to get eggs that are cheaper than what you could find at the grocery store, or more regular than you could find at the grocery store, that may or may not happen. Usually it's a lot of work to take on chickens. Yeah, they're cute, they're friendly, they can be nice depending upon which breeds you pick and how much time you spend with them and all those kinds of things. They can become your best friends. I mean, they're really kind of cool creatures to have around if you take time to watch them, but they require to be fed. They require water. They require cleanliness. They require biosecurity. They require a lot of things that go on every day. You can't put them out back and say, I'll see you again on Thursday. It's kind of like, okay, I need to go do these things. I need to have time to do these things. So I start with kind of walking through some of those issues, but then we start with things like as basic as site suitability. How big of a piece of property do you live on? How big's your yard? If you've got 4 or 5 acres, we're fine. But if you're, or more, you can have more. But if you're on a 1/4 acre lot that happens to have a lot of horticultural items, happens to have a driveway, happens to, have a lot of things out there, that limits the amount of ground that you can have on and where you might put them. You've also got setbacks you've got to deal with. between neighbors and property lines. You can't just put them on the far corner out in the field, next door to the next guy and say, I'm not going to deal with the smells or the noises. Somebody's going to have to deal with them. So these are all things you've got to think about. Then you got to think about B&Ps, and B&Ps are best management practices. And those are all designed both commercially and both in the backyard setting on keeping everybody safe. And that is, food safety, that's environmental safety, it's water quality safety, it's also physical safety from the standpoint of, are you going to do things that create a situation that are going to be bad for you, the birds, or for you? So you've got to think about all those issues up front. And one big issue that people really don't think about is waste disposal. How are you going to do it? They unfortunately eat a lot of feed, and it's got to go someplace. And, you can't just take poultry litter and throw it out in the yard and it'll be okay, because it has a very high nitrogen content, and it can burn things up. It can be more than what your plants and things need if it's done in its original form. You have to compost it a little bit. You have to do things to manage it, or take it off site somehow. It can be taken to the landfill. It can be taken to another place where they can use it another way. But you have to make plans for those things. You have to think about the coop. I mean, there are, in most of the counties, it's sort of a sliding scale regulation as to how many birds you can have, based on the lot size or the yard size, or how much actual area acreage you have. So you might have 4 or 5 birds, you might have 25 birds, and they all have different coop requirements that are different. You can have different pens and runs that come with them. Some are stable and stay there all the time. Others are movable. That's one of the neatest things that is about it. You can create a movable coop that you move every day or every 2 days and allow them to go all kinds of places around the yard, which is really nice from a standpoint of they kill insects. They, will leave nutrients across the yard. They'll do a little scratching and dethatching and things of that nature. If you leave them in one place too long, they can tear up the ground quite a bit because they do a lot of scratching and so forth. So you have pluses and minuses to both things, but you really have to think about all these issues. And then you also have to think about the biosecurity. You really shouldn't wear clothes that you're going to wear in the house or around everywhere out in the chicken barn, because you're going to probably come in with things you didn't expect. And that's not really a good thing. You don't want to spread disease, to your family or to somebody else's family, or let's say you go to a chicken barn, then go to a store, without
go to the office.
You go to the office and people, one might go, what is that unique smell? You obviously have done something. But secondly, the contamination can be actually quite easy and quite severe, meaning that if you walk into a store and there's 400 people that walk behind you, you leave something on the ground, they can take it wherever they are. It's the same thing with if you have neighbors that have chickens and you have them and you like to go, have a cup of coffee with them and see their birds and do all kinds of things. If one of the birds is sick and you come in contact with it and then you go home, you can bring that disease, that sickness home to your birds, very accidentally, not know what happened, and simply a matter of you not understanding all the prerequisite needs that you have to think about. So we really try to go through it in a very thorough, it's not a college level course to do the chickens or anything, but we try to hit all these topics that are very important to people for the, again, health of the birds, the safety of the birds, the people that have them, the environment, and to make sure that you don't invest in this pretty little coop that's out there and love it and get your chickens and name them all and make them be part of your family, and then have one of your neighbors kind of go, that is an eyesore. They're not doing, what they need to do, and they need to go. that's one of the worst things that can happen, is trying to, or having to deal with some disagreement between neighbors on how things are. And we just try to alleviate all those different things. And also another bad thing is, well, we're going to do this for the kids, and the kids are going to take care of them. They're going to learn this. It's going to be this great educational thing. And then if you don't involve them correctly, if you don't teach them how to do it right, 3 weeks later, the kids are in playing Nintendo and you're doing all the work.
Oh, yeah.
So we try to make sure that isn't part of the process either.
Is there, I mean, you mentioned that it wasn't a college level class. Do these ordinances include some sort of educational piece that require people to have a conversation with you at a minimum before their permit is signed?
Usually, there is a permit process, and there is a 8 or 9 page document that they have to work through. So there's not a class necessarily that they have to go to, although we do offer classes on backyard chickens regularly. We normally do 2 or 3 a year at different locations for people that want to have more interest in, finding out more about it, or have specific questions they want to know about. But this packet, it's written with a lot of how-tos written in it. So when you're filling things out, you're reading a lot of information that might either through osmosis or directly tell you how, the things you should be doing or that you might want to consider. And you have to respond on all these different questions. And then you turn it back in, but it's not as simple as you going in and say, I'm going to fill out a 1-line form and I'm going to get this permit. It's you fill out the application. The application is reviewed. It's reviewed by planning and zoning in most counties or most jurisdictions. It's reviewed by other people. Most of them come to me as well. And I look at them from the animal health standpoint and from the environmental standpoint and from our view, and trying to see if there needs to be changes made to your plans or adding things you might not consider. And if there's a real need for more education. And I'm very happy to say that most of the people that have done the plans in the area have done very well thought out plans that, we haven't had to go to a great deal of extra effort to try to provide more information for them. But there is the possibility that might happen. And we just try to make sure that everything, as best we can, has been thought out, to try to alleviate any problems along the way. And we give everybody our contact information and our resource list and things like that, so that they can, become more involved, more knowledgeable, and answer their own questions in some ways to be able to carry on this fine project, because it really is a neat thing to do. And it's great to have the fresh eggs. It's great to have the fresh meat. It's great to have those things. But if you're trying to do it to save money, it's not going to happen, because you're not buying your feed, and your input costs are going to be not on a scale of, great. You're not buying it for 1,000 birds. You're buying it for 6 to 10. And those costs are going to be higher. You're putting, more input into it. So your eggs are probably going to cost more, but they may be fresher. If you like omelets that are very fluffy, if you like foods that are really good, you might get more bang for your buck in doing so, but it's probably going to cost you a little bit more. You're going to have more effort involved in getting it done. So there is some self-satisfaction in that, meaning the people kind of go, I'm raising my own food, and I feel very secure in that way. And that's a great thing. But there's a lot of work that goes with that, and there's a lot of chances for things to go wrong. Unfortunately, birds, when you have them in a pen, they're going to have potential contact with wild birds that fly by, bring things with them. If you don't go out and source the birds from a qualified source with vaccinations and protocols, and you just get them from any place, they might bring something in that your birds have not been exposed to. So you have to deal with mortality. They don't live forever, unfortunately. They're not going to be there for 20 years. They're going to be there and be productive for a short period of time, relatively. And you've got to have a plan on how you're going to deal with that. You can't just necessarily throw them in the trash and go away just normal. So you've got to think about all the ins and outs.
Well, I will tell you, nothing against anything that you have just said, but I am even more firm in my belief that I want a coop and not chickens. I had no idea chickens had to be vaccinated. I never considered the lifespan of a chicken. The puppies have made me think about what they leave behind and the mess that you have to clean up. But this has been a really interesting conversation, Corey. Thank you so much for coming and talking to me about backyard chickens. I appreciate it.
No problem at all. I'm more than happy to come talk to you anytime.
We are going to wrap up our conversation today. We have been chatting with Corey Childs. He is the extension agent with Virginia Cooperative Extension. He is based in Warren County, but serves all 5 of our surrounding counties. I will put his contact information up on the show notes page. So if you have questions about backyard chickens, you can reach out to him directly. I will be back tomorrow. I will have a brand new episode of The Valley Today ready to go for you just a few minutes after noon. Meet me here then.